This is the fourth video in the video series covering access control models, and in this video I will discuss role-based access control model or RBAC, which is a non-discretionary model where access is tied to a subject job role, not his personal identity. So in role-based access control model, administrator assign the rights and permissions to a role, and then users are made part of that role and they get the access if they have the role membership. So it is different than discretionary access control model where owner decides and assign the permissions of subjects related to objects. So administrator assign the permission to a role and user inherit the access if they are part of that role. One of the example could be the security analyst role, and the users which are part of security analyst role, they get the read and write permissions on security information and event management system, which actually collects and analyze the logs from different systems and detect any malicious behavior. So the systems from where the SIEM gets the log, admin rights of those systems are not assigned to a security analyst role. So if a person who is newly hired, he is added to a role and he inherits that access readily, and there is no need of per user setup. This is very important and it facilitates if a person wants to leave an organization, then he is removed from that role and his all rights are revoked. And this also prevent privilege creep, that is a subject cannot get or accumulate the rights over a period of time since rights are linked with the role. So role-based access control model ensures the separation of duties because a sensitive operation is split between two different roles so that no single person can complete it individually. So it forces collusion. It means two persons have to collaborate with each other to do a sensitive operation. For example, system administrator role and security analyst are two different roles, and a person who is system administrator and he is doing some malicious operation on the system, then he should not be able to delete its log from security information and event management system, since he does not have the security analyst role. So he required to collaborate with a security analyst to do a malicious job. So there are two implementation of separation of duty. One is static separation of duties, in which a person cannot get the conflicting roles which perform the sensitive operation. So it is enforced at the time of assignment and it is static. And another is the dynamic separation of duties, where a person can get both the roles, but these roles are not activated in the single session. And it is aligned with NIST implementation of constrained role-based access control. So role-based access control also follows a hierarchical structure like mandatory access control model or MAC, where senior roles inherit the permissions of junior roles. For example, doctor can inherit the permissions of nurse and lab technician roles because he has a senior role. So NIST model has 4 levels, that is core, hierarchical, constrained separation of duty, and symmetric. Now for an organization to implement role-based access control, it has to start from non-role-based access control, then limited implementation of RBAC, then hybrid RBAC, and then full implementation of RBAC. So this full implementation of RBAC is aligned with NIST standard from 1990s. So discretionary access control and role-based access control both use the groups. However, in discretionary access control, the decision is by the owner of the object. So he can distribute the permissions of the objects which he owns to other subjects. However, in role-based access control, it is done by administrator centrally. So role-based access control model is non-discretionary. So it is not on the discretion of owner of the object. Main benefit of role-based access control, it enforces the principle of least privilege. So people only get the rights which are required to do their job, not more than that. And it also prevents privilege creep, since access is tied to a role and these are not get accumulated if these are assigned individually. So in discretionary access control model, the rights are assigned to individuals, therefore there is a risk of privilege creep, but not in role-based access control model. Then revocation is easy by removing the person from their role and his access is gone. So therefore it is very scalable in high turnover environments, and a user also can hold different roles simultaneously. But these roles should not be able to perform a sensitive operation, or you have to implement static SOD or dynamic SOD, which I have discussed earlier. So role-based access control model is the middle ground, since it has a mandatory access control model structure, but lacks and without the rigidity of MAC. And it also prevents the excessive permission risk which is there in the discretionary access control model. So role-based access control model is different from rule-based access control model, which is related to firewall ACLs and network ACLs. And role-based access control model grants permissions by job roles. It is non-discretionary and it is very good for high turnover environment. This was all. Thank you.